So in our class, we're going to be covering the 39 categories of activities that are forbidden on Shabbos. During the weekday, this is an activity that is done, and in Chassidus, it explains the spiritual significance of what this activity accomplishes during the week, and therefore we'll understand why on Shabbos it is forbidden. Now, where do we find Shabbos in the Torah? And how does the Torah address the different activities of Shabbos? Staples? You have some stable ones, some unstable? So we start on page 1. This is from Bereshis, the very first parsha of the Torah. And it goes through the 6 days of creation, and then it says, and it came the 6th day. On the 6th day, the world was brought to a completion. Heaven and earth and all their components are thus completed. On the 7th day, God finished all the work that he had done. He thus rested on the 7th day from all the work he had been doing. God blessed the 7th day and declared it to be holy. So when did the holiness of Shabbos begin? From the very beginning of creation. This itself became a day of holiness, and God ceased of all work that he had been creating so that it would be able to continue to function. So these are the activities that we have that are throughout the week. And then we have the 7th day where the world comes to a higher elevation. It is told of the Alter Rebbe, the founder of Chabad, that on Shabbos he had to wear a different size of clothes because since the world became on a higher elevated, it also expressed itself physically that he grew larger on Shabbos. So he had special Shabbos clothes because that would fit him. During the week, it was too large. There's told of the Rabbi Yisrael of Ruzhin. He was a grandson of the Maggid of Mizrich, the teacher of the successor of the Baal Shem Tov. That when he was a small boy, he heard people were arguing that Shabbos start yet or not, and he was already a great gifted child. And he said, "Why are you questioning? Look at the sky. On Shabbos, it looks completely different than it does during the week." So to those who have that spiritual sensitivity, they feel different on Shabbos than they do during the week. And this comes from the holiness of Shabbos. So here we have the first time Shabbos is mentioned. Page 2. Then Hashem gave this gift to the Jewish people on the bottom of the page. This is of the 10 Commandments. So we have Zechor Shem HaShabbos L'Kadsha, remember the Shabbos day to keep it holy. You can work during the 6 weekdays and do all your tasks. On a Saturday is a Sabbath to God, your Lord. Do not do anything that constitutes work. What does that mean? What is work? The Torah tells us that you're not permitted to do any work on Shabbos. It also tells us the positive, remember the Shabbos day to keep it holy. Do activities on Shabbos that will bring in the holiness. It's not only the negative, what you can't do, but it's also what you should do. And this is the source, remember the Shabbos day to keep it holy. That is the source for Kiddush. By saying Kiddush, sanctifying the Shabbos through firstly, it is in our prayer, in our evening prayer, and then it's also with having it over a beverage, over wine, grape juice, and declaring that God is the creator of the world. So Shabbos is, when we make Kiddush, we're testifying that God is the creator. This is the express it verbally, and this is a mitzvah for which women are equally obligated as men. There are some mitzvahs that are bound by time that women could do it voluntarily, but it's not an obligation. But many of the mitzvahs, women took it upon themselves that they make a point of doing it. For instance, when it comes to listening to shofar on Rosh Hashanah, that's also a timely mitzvah. Women took it upon themselves to make an effort to hear the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. What about sitting in a sukkah? Women are exempt. There are those who want to, again, take it upon themselves that they do want to eat in the sukkah, be able to make the blessing. The same thing is also going to be on the lulav and the esrog and the adasim and aravos. Again, this is a mitzvah that is by time. Women are not obligated, but again, make an effort and give the women an opportunity to do so. However, when it comes to making kiddush, this is obligation of women as men. Another mitzvah that is also bound by time where women are also obligated, and that would be, anyone? A timely mitzvah that women are obligated to do. Let's hear it. Lighting candle, that's not a Torah obligation. We're going to speak about the mitzvahs of the rabbinic, of which we make a blessing. And that is the eating of matzah the first night of Pesach. So women are obligated to eat matzah the first night of Pesach. And the source behind it is that whoever is forbidden to do an activity is also obligated to do that, also an activity. For instance, when it comes to prohibition of not to do any forbidden activities on Shabbos, so women are obligated to keep that. So since they're obligated to keep the negative, they're also obligated to keep the positive. The same thing is also with matzah. They're obligated to eat matzah, but at the same time they're also forbidden to eat the leavening, to eat the chametz. So these two mitzvahs, women are equal to men when it comes to performing these mitzvahs. So we start off with Zachar Yom Shabbos Lakacho. Remember the Shabbos day to keep it holy. Part of the Ten Commandments. And we had the work that is do not do any work on Shabbos. What is the definition of work? So, for instance, this table is very heavy. Okay, what about carrying this table, which is very heavy, to carry it to the other room on Shabbos? I'm going to work up a sweat. I'm going to move this table. It's really solid. Okay, am I allowed to? If I need the table in the other room, can I move this table to the other room on Shabbos? Why? The answer is yes. Why? Yeah, no, but does that work? At the end of the time, I'm going to be exhausted when I push this table to the other room. Does that work? Why doesn't that work?
So our definition of work is the same as Shabbos.
So here we have, there's a definite definition of what is considered work. It's a Shabbos definition. It's not our definition, it's a Shabbos definition. What is the definition? The 39 categories. How do we know that? Where do the 39 categories come? Halacha, Moshe, and Sinai. Moshe Rabbeinu defined what the word work means. It's a Torah definition, and this is part of Torah Shebe'al Peh. We're going to be going into that as a separate booklet of the Torah was given with an explanation to Moshe Rabbeinu, and not everything in the Torah is taken literally. There are many people who quote an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. If someone removes somebody's eye, then what should happen to him? His eye should be taken out. Have you ever heard that quote? Eye for an eye. Is that meant to be taken literally? Is that what happened? Is that what the courts did to someone who removed someone's eye? No. Maybe it should have happened to them. That's why the Torah says it so strongly. That's how it's versed. But Moshe Rabbeinu told us no. It means that there's a monetary compensation. So here we have that the Torah's definitions of different works. This has to do with how it was given also to Moshe Rabbeinu. We're going to go into this in more detail why it was given this way. Why was it given this way? Why couldn't it be very, very, very simple, just straight out? Moshe Rabbeinu only gave the 5 books of Moses, the five Chumashim, and everything else was there was no other text. There was only text. So what happened with everything else? How did you have all that information? Anyone want to speak up? Okay, so this was all given over orally. You could not learn the Chumash, you could not learn the Bible yourself because you would not know what it actually means unless you have a teacher. So the system was set up that you must have a teacher. What advantage is there to having a teacher rather than reading the text yourself? What advantage is there in a teacher? He's a good teacher. He's a good teacher, huh? That's correct. Not only is the teacher one who's giving you over information, but also sees how you understand the information. Sometimes you could read something and come to a wrong conclusion. The person who's giving you, he's guiding you, and also he is serving as a living example. So it's not only a text, but you also see how it actually is done. And so when he speaks about good character traits, that's the teacher is expected to have good character traits. So it's not the same as a lecturer who would be lecturing about something. Let's say he's very obese, and he's giving you a lecture of how to be not obese. And so his methods could work for everybody, but he's not the example who's going to be the one who's saying the same thing. Someone comes in with a cigarette, and he's going to explain to you why cigarette is terrible and it's dangerous and everything else that goes with it, and he's puffing away. You can have he's going to be contradicting. So it's not a contradiction because the information that you're not looking at him, you're looking at the information that you want. So you close your eyes and you say, okay, listen, he's harming himself and everything else that goes along that he says is terrible about smoking. So he's doing it to himself, but doesn't mean that the information is that way. When it comes to Torah, it has to be someone who is connected to Hashem to be able to transmit the Torah properly. That's the way it was set up. We're going to learn about why this system changed. But that is the way it was meant to be. So therefore, when we have the word malacha, how do we know it's 39 categories? Moshe Rabbeinu, when he taught to the Jewish people the 10 commandments, to know what the content is, he told them what malacha means, he told them about all the 39 categories. Okay. Page 3. And this is where we have the Hashem created the world. He blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. We have over here the Jewish people asked Moshe Rabbeinu that he should receive the rest of the Torah. It was going to be given in installments. So we had first 10 commandments. Hashem was going to give it in installments. The Jewish people said it was too intense for them. And therefore, they're asking Moshe Rabbeinu to be their representative, to go and listen, to learn from Hashem, and then transmit it to them. That's what we have in the bottom of page 3, page 4. Bottom of page 4. Hashem tells Moshe to speak to the Israelites to tell them, you must keep my Sabbaths. It's a sign between me and you for all generations to make you realize that I, God, am making you holy. So what is the result of Shabbos? How does it affect a Jew? It brings a holiness on the Jew on the Shabbos day. Some people are sensitive, they feel that holiness, others, to them it's a regular day. But deep down, their neshama, their soul feels that holiness that God imparted by making us a part of the Shabbos. Therefore, keep the Shabbos as something sacred to you. And anyone doing work on Sabbath should be cut off, will be cut off spiritually from his people. And that is why, by doing work, you cut yourself off from the sensitivity of appreciating the Shabbos. Page 5. The Israelites shall thus keep the Shabbos, making a day of rest for all generations as the eternal covenant. It is a sign between me and Israel that during the 6 weekdays God made heaven and earth, but on Saturday he ceased working and withdrew to the spiritual. So then again, so first it makes a Jew holy, and then also it is a realization that God is the creator of the world. Page 6. Okay. Now, on page 6, we have Moshe Rabbeinu come down from Mount Sinai the third time. Which day is it? Which day is the third time that he comes down? First of all, does everyone know that Moshe Rabbeinu goes on Mount Sinai 3 times? First time he goes to 40 days to receive the 10 Commandments. He comes back with them. The Jewish people have sinned with the golden calf. He shatters the tablets. Goes up another 40 days to pray on behalf of the Jewish people. Hashem should spare them. And before he left for the second time, he asked that the shofar be blown. And the 40 days begin from, when did the 40 days begin? This is the second 40 days. When does that begin? Which day does it go up? Which day is that beginning of the 40 days? Second 40 days. Anyone? It goes up on Rosh Chodesh Elul. From Rosh Chodesh Elul until after 40 days. What is the 40th day? Anyone? Yom Kippur. Those are the 40 days that Moshe Rabbeinu goes up. He says that this time, blow the shofar that I'm going up. I'm going to come back in 40 days. Remember that, to behave yourselves. And this we have the beginning of the blowing of the shofar. That's also a wake-up call, calling out for the neshama. And that is the blowing of the shofar during the time from Chodesh Elul, the month of Elul. Moshe Rabbeinu comes down. So this is the last 40 days that Moshe Rabbeinu goes up. This is the third time, Chodesh Elul. It comes back on Yom Kippur and brings that is the Day of Atonement. That is the day that Moshe Rabbeinu is now gathers the people. It's on page 6. Moshe Rabbeinu assembles the entire Israelite community and says to them, these are the words that God has commanded for you to do. You may do work during the 6 weekdays, but Saturday must be kept holy as a Sabbath of Sabbaths to God. Whoever does any work on that day shall be put to death. Do not ignite any fire on Shabbos, no matter where you may live. And then what follows? This gathering of the Jewish people, telling them about the Sabbath. What follows there is the next paragraph. And here it is. We're making a collection for the building of the Mishkan. So Moshe Rabbeinu gives an introduction. Before he tells them about the building of a house to Hashem, he tells them first about Shabbos, meaning that as great as it is to build a house for Hashem, you're not permitted to do that on Shabbos. What was included in building the Mishkan? There are 39 categories of activities that were done to build the Mishkan. So Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, tell the Jewish people, keep the Shabbos. Do not build the Mishkan on Shabbos. And how many categories are there in building the Mishkan? 39. And that's what we're going to learn. Every malacha, we're going to say, how does it apply to the Mishkan? What was done in the Mishkan concerning this activity? So here we see the Torah explicitly hinting to that whatever was, they were told not to build the Mishkan on Shabbos, to keep the Shabbos day holy. So 39 categories were a part of the building of the Mishkan. That is malacha. That is the work that you're not allowed to do. So we're in the Torah that we see explicitly these 39 categories. That is because it was a part of the building of the Mishkan. So it would be an analogy would be that you have someone who is working in the king's palace. You make sure that all of the different rooms, everything else that has to be repaired is done efficiently. He was given that privilege. But then there is a time that the king invites him, that he wants to invites him to a meal, he wants to converse with him. So what would it be if he, as he's talking to the king, he's sitting together, enjoying the king's presence, the king is giving him that privilege, he sees a crack in the wall. He says, excuse me, takes his tools and starts fixing this crack in the wall. The king is sitting here, what's this guy doing? I'm talking to him. He runs and we said, what are you doing? I'm working for you. I'm doing such good work for you. I'm making sure your palace is perfect. That's not what you should be doing now. I'm giving you my time. I'm giving you now. You're speaking together with me. That is Shabbos. Shabbos, according to Kabbalah, the meals that we are eating is in Hashem's presence. We are eating. Hashem is joining us in our meal, whatever that means. According to Kabbalah, there's a special privilege that every meal of Shabbos we are eating from the table of Hashem, and He is with us. It is different on Yom Tif. According to Kabbalah, on Yom Tif, we're eating from the king's kitchen. He's providing for us, but He's not with us. But on Shabbos, He is with us at the table. For those who are people who are sensitive to, you can imagine what their Shabbos meal was like. Feel the God's presence different than anywhere else. The fact that they're now at the meal, they are feeling God's presence. This is something that's a very, it's a gift that there's no saying to a gift. There's a story told of someone who had saved a family from captivity, and the tzaddik, who was known to his special. Everyone has a special mitzvah. This mitzvah was Shabbos. So he asked this simple farmer, "What reward would you like for doing such a mitzvah? What could I bless you with?" He said, "I want to be blessed that I should experience the Shabbos the same as you." He says, "That's not something that you are ready for. I would suggest you choose something else." "No, this is what I want." So he said that he would bless him with the request that he asked. So it comes and said, so the 3 days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday is the extension of Shabbos. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is the preparation for the next week. So we have going to Kabbalah, that the Shabbos day blesses the coming week, but also the Shabbos is blessed by the work that you achieve during the week. So it works both ways. Whatever you deposit, then you take it for the next week as a blessing. So when it comes to Wednesday, you start getting excited. Shabbos is coming. Everyone says, "Yeah, we know Shabbos." Yes, but Shabbos is coming. He gets very excited. As Thursday, he gets more and more excited. On Friday, he starts jumping out of his skin. When it comes to Shabbos, they have to tie him down because he's so excited that Shabbos he can't function. He's just going out of his mind. So the family says to themselves, "Wow, something happened here. This man is out of his mind." So then what comes as Shabbos is over, it gradually decreases. Wednesday, starting again. And again, the Shabbos, they had to restrain him. So they asked him, what happened? So he said, "I asked for a blessing, and this is the blessing I got." So they go back to the tzaddik, and they tell him what the family tells him this is the look at his experience is such that he can't function as a human being. So he says, let him stay with me, and I will teach him. Eventually, he was able to experience the Shabbos properly. But again, for the tzaddik, to him, you did not see him jumping out of his skin. You did not see him, but to him, it was an experience that was a Shabbos experience that he became a holy person, different than he was during the week. So this is the Shabbos experience. And so again, the more you invest in the Shabbos, the more you're able to appreciate the Shabbos as well. Page. Oh, so we do here now. We have so over here we have, generally speaking, the 39 categories. But what specific prohibition is there in this paragraph on page 6? Do not ignite any fire on Shabbos, no matter where you may live. So here we have the Torah explicitly tells you not to make a fire. What was like making a fire? Was that something that you would consider actually hard work? You had to stand with a string and sort of until you got a spark. What was it like in Egypt? When they're coming from Egypt in the desert, what was making a fire like? Anyone? Any idea? How did they make fire in? Anyone? How did they make fire in Egypt? They had something that is a tinderbox. A tinderbox is the same. We call it now lighter. How does the lighter function? What happens? What's there? How does the lighter work? Anyone? There's gas, yeah, but what ignites the gas? Anyone? Huh? I know, where did you get the spark? Okay, you have the Flintstones rubbing against each other to create a spark, and now you have a fuel that's going to be ignited through this spark. So that was something so it's not, would anyone say that having a lighter, that is work? Physical work? No. So here we see the idea is not the physical work, but it's actually creating something. The creating of fire on Shabbos, creation of it's to be done during the week, but not on the Shabbos day. So here we have one of the 39 categories is igniting a fire. Page 7. Now, here we have additional prohibitions that we see explicitly. This is when they were given the man. Is everyone familiar what the Jewish people ate during the 40 years that they were in the desert? They ate a special food that was given to them on a daily basis. Advantage and disadvantage. What's the advantage of having it on a daily basis? What? What's the advantage of having it on a daily basis? It's fresh. It wouldn't be stale. No, that's not. But so, what's the disadvantage? You can't save it. You don't know what you're going to have tomorrow. You have to daven to Hashem that He's going to give it again. Even though you have to really rely on Him, and you have to communicate with Him, and you have to know that He is taking care of your needs on a daily basis, not to give you something that's going to be once a month or once a year, and forget about you. No, Hashem did not think of the Jewish people that day. There would be no man. So this is Hashem being involved in everyone's life on an actual daily basis. But what does it say about the man? So it's on every day they were given a portion for the day, and then on Friday they got a double portion. They weren't told that they were going to get a double portion. Moshe Rabbeinu was told. The Jewish people weren't told. They came and asked what is happening. So no matter how much they collected, they came home. They came with a portion that was needed for every family member. Whether you collected overly or less, when they came home, you had exactly what you needed. So they were told that since this is what God has said, tomorrow is a day of rest, God's holy Sabbath. Bake what you want to bake, cook what you want to cook today. Whatever you have left over, put aside carefully until the morning. Even though anyone who would leave it, it would become putrid, it would become maggots, it would spoil. But this time, you were told, yes, you're going to get a double portion. One is for Friday, the other one is for the Shabbos day. And what does it say? Whatever you want to bake, bake on Friday. Whatever you want to cook, cook on Friday. What does it tell us? That on Shabbos, you're not permitted to cook or bake, and that's another of the 39 categories where the Torah tells you explicitly. Now we have another one. Now, how do they get the man? They would go every day and gather the man. Here it says one may not leave his home to gather food on Saturday. Leaving the home means you would go with your vessel, with your basket, take it out of the private domain from your tent, from your home, bring it into the public domain. So you're carrying from private to public, and then you're going to be bringing back from the public to the private. Another thing you're going to be doing is you're going to be carrying from the place where you gather it until you go to your home, which would be also carrying in public domain. So here we have another malacha of, explicitly the Torah is telling us about carrying. You cannot carry in the public domain. You cannot carry from your house to the public domain, from the public domain to your house. So here we have another malacha. The Torah explicitly tells us not to carry on Shabbos. Here again, is it something that is difficult? Now that's what you're carrying. Carrying a tissue in your pocket, used later, and you carry that on Shabbos. Even though it doesn't weigh much, you don't even realize you have something in your pocket. That's how light it is. But still, the malacha is not the labor, but it's rather an activity that you're showing mastery, that you are the master of this object. You can take it where you wish. You can take it to the public. You can take it to the private. Again, Chassidus speaks about this, it elaborates on each malacha. What is the spiritual significance of this activity? Why on weekdays it is something that is positive, and on Shabbos it should cease. Number 8. Here we have now on page 8, I don't think it's numbered. So we have on the bottom of the page, you may work during the weekdays, but on Saturday you must stop work, ceasing from all plowing and reaping. This is on the next page, on the bottom of the page, left bottom of the page. So here we have plowing and reaping. This is field activities. Even though they were in the desert, I guess, but they were told about another 2 activities that the Torah explicitly speaks about. You're not allowed to plow on Shabbos, preparing the ground for planting, and also after it's grown, you're not allowed to remove the produce from its place of growth. So here we have the activities that the Torah tells us among the 39 categories. So we had not to make a fire, not to cook, not to bake, not to carry, not to plow, not to reap. Next page. Now on Friday night, we have the form of the Kiddush. Look at the time. And see that the time is that correct? Yes, okay. So now we have Friday night Kiddush. Well, we usher in, we say Shalom Aleichem, we welcome the angels that come with us, come to our home. The Talmud tells us about the angels. They accompany us and they see what's the state of the home. How are you preparing for Shabbos? You have the positive angel, you have the negative angel, and when the home is prepared for Shabbos, the candles are burning, the challah is on the table, everything is all cleaned up, nice. So the angel gives a blessing that may next week be the same. And if it's not so, So the negative angel says may next week be the same. So you have to really, what it does is, it makes it easier for next week to be positive. If it is negative, it's harder to overcome this negativity. You have to make that extra effort to be able to bring holiness into the home. The Talmud tells us about Rabbi Meir. If you're familiar with Rabbi Meir Balaness, many miracles happened to him. He was traveling and he stayed, he was hosted at a home where on Friday there was a lot of tension. The people who hosted him were very, very nervous, stressed, upset, a lot of shouting and screaming, a lot of a very negative atmosphere. And the mayor, who was going to leave right after Shabbos, decided he was going to stay and see what he could do for this Friday tension, trying to bring in shalom bias, bring in peace into the home. And he worked all week. And again, it's just interesting that for people who are prepared for Shabbos, no matter when Shabbos comes, whether it is 4 o'clock or 7 o'clock, people still are doing things at the very last moment. So that's something that some people made a point of 12 o'clock, they're ready for Shabbos, then they take the Friday afternoon nap, so they'll be relaxed when it comes to Shabbos. If you're able to do that, that's wonderful. If you have a household of children, and you have to make sure that everyone has their baths and their clothes and everything else, and get their lunch and everything else that goes along with it, sometimes it's a little difficult, but you really have to make the special effort because there is also negativity to countering that. So Rabbi Meir stays there 1 week, and things started calming down a little, and next week, and then he sees that things are well. And then the next Sunday he leaves, and the Talmud tells us an angel's voice comes out and says, "You've taken away my business from this house." Which angel was it? The negative one. You've taken away my business from this house. So this is something that, again, you have to make that special effort. You should know that there's a lot of negativity that is trying to disrupt your Shabbos, trying to disrupt that atmosphere. This is something that so this is the extra effort that you have to put in to make sure that the Shabbos is calm. Whatever methods you do, see what works for you when trying to bring that in. So now we have there's the Friday night Kiddush, and then there's the, do you know what the Kiddush is for Saturday, for Shabbos day? This is on page 8. This is the Shabbos day Kiddush. Do you know what is the actual Kiddush? We know by Elul and Yom HaShishi that said Friday night, but what is the actual Shabbos Kiddush for the daytime? Anyone? How do you make Kiddush on Shabbos day? Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Olam Borei Pri Hagafen. Kiddush. That was it. You just make, but there is the preliminary that it's not the actual Kiddush, but it's the introduction to Kiddush. And that is taken from Yeshayahu, from Isaiah. And this is what the prophet tells us. If you restrain your feet because of Shabbos from attending to your affairs on my holy day. So here we have that the atmosphere of Shabbos also is important. Besides the 39 categories, there's also a positive Shabbos atmosphere we're trying to bring into the house. So if you do so, and you call the Shabbos a delight, how do you delight the Shabbos? How do you make Shabbos something special? How do you delight it? By anyone? How do we make it says Oneg Shabbos? What is Oneg Shabbos? Oneg is delight. What is Oneg? How do we have an Oneg Shabbos? That's right. But so what happens if someone says they want to go on the computer? That's their pleasure. Is that enjoying Shabbos? So again, it has to be the enjoyment of Shabbos according to what is acceptable for Shabbos. It's not what you enjoy; it's what Shabbos wants you to enjoy. So how do we enjoy the Shabbos? Oneg Shabbos would be all delicious foods that are built, that are cooked, baked, and bought. So this itself becomes a mitzvah. of Onik Shabbos, enjoying the Shabbos. The lighting of the candles. We have a Friday night candle meal. Some people put that in special atmosphere. They have candle lighting. Even if someone has a special occasion, they light the candles, makes it a certain atmosphere. That's a part of Onik Shabbos. Then there's also Kavod Shabbos, the honor of Shabbos. How do you honor the Shabbos? By cleaning the house. Come to the house, it's honorable, taking off the dust. So in Shulchan speaks about taking away the the spider webs if you have, cleaning up the house, wearing special clothes for Shabbos. All of this is a part of Kavod Shabbos. You're doing it in the honor of Shabbos. And if you're doing the honor of Shabbos, it's on Hashem's budget. Whatever you do for Shabbos and Yontif and Rosh Chodesh, Hashem says, it's a special account. And I'm going to keep tabs on that account. Whatever you're going to spend, if it's specific for Shabbos, you're buying yourself a nice outfit for Shabbos, you're buying special foods for Shabbos, Nash for Shabbos. Hashem says, you're going to be compensated during the year, I'm going to give it back to you. Even though in Rosh Hashanah that amount was not allotted to you,